Welcome back. In our last video, we created a new grill and a new bumper for this Freightliner Cascadia. And so now we need to export. And I know a lot of you have been wondering about exporting uh, modifications and get them in the game. So hopefully if everything goes right, that's exactly what we'll do with this truck. The first thing you have to do to export is you got to get your conversion tools, and you can get that from SCS website. Okay, here it is, conversion tools. This is the it comes in a zip folder, and you have to unzip it, and we need to put that in Blender 2.8. So go to your SCS website and download conversion tools if you haven't downloaded it yet, because you will need that in order to export your truck and any accessories you modified. And the way you add that to Blender is over here. There's an icon, kind of looks like a printer printing out a picture. You want to click on it, and then I guess about halfway down, maybe 3/4 way down, you'll see conversion tools path. And the easiest way to import that is click on the file folder, and in this case I'll go to my desktop and I will hit let's see, Blender Tools for SCS, and then I'll look for the folder called Conversion Tools 212, and the way that I install it, I'll click on the Conversion Tools folder and I'll hit Accept, and I will keep hitting Accept until it installs. And then once it installs, the window goes away, and this should be in black. If it shows up in red, then your tools were not installed correctly. So make sure that this is black and white. And then the next thing you want to do is, once you got your conversion tools in the Blender, you want to name your mod. In this case, since we added a bumper, I named it Bumper Version 1, and I want it in a zip file. And then these three tabs here, I usually check Export and Convert. And I usually don't check Clean, and the reason why I don't check Clean is because I want my pieces to stay separate. And if you select Clean, then every piece that has a chrome to it goes into one piece, and every piece that's painted goes into one piece. And so you have you have few pieces, but it makes it harder if you want to take a part off this truck to modify it later, because then you'll have to separate it, and you have to select it and separate it and create a new part. So I always like to just keep my parts separated, so that's why I leave the Clean unchecked. And then after you've done that, you're ready to export it. So next thing you want to do is just click Pack Mod. This will take a little bit of time, and there's several things that can happen. If you'll see a box, it'll come up here where it starts converting all your files. Sometimes that box will end in an error, and you'll have to correct those errors before you can export it. But hopefully this truck won't have any errors when we export. So I hope everyone's doing okay, and leave me some comments, any tutorials you'd like to see in the future. I plan on making another long cab truck. Let me know your thoughts on it. Okay, now you can see that all the files are being converted in this black box. Now if this black box goes away, which it just did, then you know that you're good. you don't have any errors that will prevent you from exporting your truck. And then right now here along this, you want to see a blue export complete. If it's in red, then you didn't export correctly. So we want to see it come up in blue, and it should come up here in just a second. So I always watch for it because it'll let you know whether you exported correctly or not. Yeah, if anybody's got any ideas for a long cab sleeper, I was going to do it. The ARI sleeper, maybe do a couple of videos on what I did to stretch a frame, things like that, create lights. Okay, I hope y'all see it showed up in blue that it did export correctly, but I do have an error, and it's been my experience that you need to correct all these errors that come up. So I have an error. Object piece 1002 is missing UV layer, which is missing UV2, and that is specified by materials for mat 033 capcao.tobj. And basically what I did, I created a new grill, and I borrowed a truck paint shader on it. And what this is telling me is that shader requires a UV layer 2, and I didn't create one. So I need to find this piece right here, piece 1002, and you can see right here is that piece. No, actually it's the front spoiler I borrowed the paint from. Okay, so the front spoiler, it says it's missing a UV layer 2. So if we go to our materials button and we scroll down, and we can see that UV layer 2 is got an error on it. So that we need to create a UV layer 2. So in order, how you do that is you go to this is called your object data properties. You click on it, and you'll find a tab that says UV maps. And this is a list of all our UV maps. And what we want to do, we want to add a third map and call it UV_2. So we'll hit the plus, and it adds a new map to it, and then we'll rename it because the shader that we borrowed wants a UV layer 2. All right, so now we just created a UV layer 2, and if we go back to our material object, now the UV layer 2 is black, and so now this piece should export correctly. But what I like to do is I like to delete everything that it just exported because I know there's a problem with it, and I will export again. Now, one of the things that I forgot to tell you about, when you're exporting, you have to select a path to export your mod to. So the path you want to select the path that your mod is in, is where your base files are at. So in my case, it's the Freightliner Cascadia, and remember we created a base file where all our truck materials is. So this is where I want to put my mod in. It has to be in the path when it exports. So all your shaders and everything, your textures, they're all in the same path. All right, so now I think we're ready to export. So we'll pack the mod up again, and we'll wait for our dialog box to appear, and then hopefully we won't have any errors once we export it. One more information, you can't export a piece if it's in the edit mode. It can be in the object mode, but it cannot be in the edit mode. So if you get done editing a piece and and you leave it in edit mode, it will not export that piece. And that's real important too. So now we have our dialog box up, and it went away, which is what we want. If it doesn't go away, that means there's a bad problem with your export, and it'll have to be fixed. OK text that in this bottom bar here, it should show up here in just a second. That tells me my truck exported correctly. And you can see that I got that front spoiler. It's still highlighted, but it is in the object mode. It's not in edit mode. So this will export no problem. All right, so now it's shown in blue. The packing is done, and it looks like everything went into a zip file correctly. All right, so now we need to get our modification into the game. And there are several ways to do it, but this is the easiest way that I know. Is I go back to my base folder. Let's see okay, right here. All right, so we exported, and remember we called it bumper version 1-zip, and these are all our PM files. And basically what, in case something really bad happens, I want to save these. So what I'll do, I'll create a new folder on my desktop, and I'll call these Cascadia mod files. And then I will just copy all my PIMs in my zip file, and I'll put it there for safekeeping. Because if you ever export and you have a bad error, one of the errors will be these files are already there. So I've always just gotten into a habit before I export a truck, I always delete the old files. But once you delete these, then they're gone forever unless you make a copy of them. So that's what I like to do. Now remember, we put all our files that we modified into that bumper version 1 zip file, so we have to extract it. And we'll just extract it into that same folder. All right, so now we have a folder called bumper version 1. And these are all our converted files. And notice they're back in your PMD, PMG files. And I have a lot more files than what I should have, because I've still got some of my other truck I've been working on. Some of the modifications I've done to it are Blender remembers them and will export them. So let me show you how to get rid of those extra files. So what we'll do, we'll just delete this bumper 1, and we'll delete all those files again, because we're going to export one more time. And in order to get rid of all those extra files, where you see this SCS conversion helper, you see something that looks like a little utility knife, just click on it, and it will clear all those old files out. So it successfully cleared the converted data and conversion tools folder. So now those old files are cleared, and we can export just the files that belong to this truck. So we'll repack the mod, and since we didn't have any errors last time, I don't expect any errors this time. And just a reminder, while I'm waiting for this truck to export, please subscribe to my videos. I hope to make a bunch more, and let me know in the comments any videos that you would like to see. I'm still fairly new to modifying with Blender, but I'm learning at a pretty good pace. And so if there's something you want to do and I can learn it, then I'll put out a video to show you how to do it. or at least one way to do it. There'll probably be several ways, but at least one way of doing it. All right, looks like everything, our dialog box closed, so it looks like everything's on track to export correctly again. All right, this showed up in blue that the packing's done and everything's good. So we come back to our folder and we can see that, we got all our PIM files and then we got our bumper zip. So we'll extract it again. All right, now you'll notice that now only the files that show up for the truck that I'm working on. All right, so now how to get this into the game. It's fairly simple. You're just replacing files with you're replacing your old files with the new files that you made. And so I go back to the Freightliner Cascadia, and this is my original file. This is our mod file, but that's okay. These other files, these are all the original. And first thing I want to do, I want to replace the actual truck file. So I go into vehicle, go into truck, and then I'm going to replace the old files with the new ones. But before I do that, I want to rename the original truck files just in case something goes wrong. I always have the original files, so I'm going to rename them, and I'll just add org to them, Cascadia _org, which tells me those are the original files. And then I will take our new truck file and I will just copy and paste. All right, so now I've added my new truck to my original Freightliner Cascadia mod. And then we want to add the new bumper and the new grills that I made. So we go back to upgrade and we go to bumper. All right, and then you can see that we have a bumper 1, a bumper 2, and a bumper 3. So the bumper 2, this was our original bumper, and our new bumper that we made is bumper 4. So we'll copy that and paste it in the same folder. And then we got to do the same thing for the grills. All right, so we got grill 1 and grill 2. Now I want to add grill 3 and grill 4. So I'll copy those. Now this in itself will not get it into the game. You're going to have to go to the accessory folder and modify your accessory folders for these to show up in the game. So we'll do that now. And let's go. All right, so we're going to go to our def folder, vehicle, truck, Freightliner, and then we want to go into the accessory folder. And here's our bumper folder. So we have bumper 1, bumper 2, bumper 3, and we'll just make a copy of this. And we'll just rename that to, the easiest thing to do is just rename it to the same thing that you want all of them to be the same. So shape 4. You could rename this to anything you want, but the inside text file is already for shape 4. So that's why it's just easier just to change the 3 to a 4. So if we open that up, you can see that here's your shape 3. You got to change that to shape 4. And then I want to change the description because this bumper ain't chrome, and the price is $6,500. That seems a little steep to me for a bumper, so we'll change it to, let's say, $1,800. And let's change the unlock level to a 2. And then the icon here, you can create your own icon, but we'll just keep the icon for bumper 3 for right now. And then the exterior model, make sure that your path is correct. And remember, we have a bumper 4, so we'll change that 3 to 4, and then we'll save it. Okay, now the bumper that we made should show up in the game. Now we have to do the same thing for the grills. So we'll go to our grill folder, and we'll just copy, and we'll just paste it twice. Then we'll rename to shape 3. And then we'll rename this one to shape 4. And then you have to modify the text file. Okay, change the 2 to a 3 because that matches our shape 3. And we'll just call this grill chrome with black Freightliner, which is what it is. And grill's 1800, and we'll make the unlock level a 2. We'll use the same icon, and then we'll change this to a 3. So that's grill 3. And that matches what our PMD file is. Then we'll save it. Now we need to edit for. All right, well, let's test it out and see how we did. Now you'll learn that you'll have to test these quite a bit to get things right. So I'll just zip everything up. I'll leave everything in it because it doesn't really matter. It's only going to search for a few things. So we'll just edit the archive. And I want to change the names because I don't want it to replace my original. So I'm going to call this Freightliner test.scs. And I want to make it a zip file. Hit OK. And hopefully once we get it in the game, all my bumper and my grill should show up. And hopefully all the textures and materials look right. We did make quite a bit of changes to our textures and to our materials. All right, now we got all packaged into our mod. We'll copy it. And like I say, this is only our test file. And we want to put it in our mod folder. All right, now let's see how we did. We'll start American Truck Simulator. We'll install our new mod truck. And let's uninstall. If we have the old one installed, we're going to uninstall it because we don't want any conflicts. I think that's the only one that I had. So confirm the changes. All right, let's look at our truck. truck browser. We'll go to our Freightliner. Alright, I can already see some errors. We have things showing up in red. So this means that your textures are not doing right. Let's see if we got some other errors, and I'll show you how to correct those in just a second. So let's go to our Alright, we still have some texture errors. But yeah, anytime you have a texture problem, they will always show up in red like this. I want to see if my bumper. Alright, so we have a few extra bumpers. Let's see what they look like. Alright, so there's our painted bumper. And this is a solid paint with the front spoiler, lip spoiler being paint. There's our black spoiler, our black bumper. And here's our bumper that's supposed to be chrome. And there's our chrome, and then we have a texture problem down here. Alright. Now texture problems they can be a little tricky to fix, but I'll show you how to fix those. Now let's look at the grill. We should have a few more grills on here. So there's our chrome grill. And there's chrome that's supposed to have the black Freightliner. It's missing the texture. And that's supposed to be the painted grill. It looks like it's missing the texture. Alright, so we got texture problems all over this truck. And I kind of left it that way so you will see what the texture problems look like and what we need to do to correct it. So let's exit out of the game. And let's go back to our original Cascadia folder. And I'll go ahead and delete that zip file. Alright, so in this folder you have a file called AutoMat, and a lot of your textures are stored in this AutoMat file. So one of the things that you got to do every time you change your materials and your textures, you have to replace those files in this AutoMat file. So if we go back to our base and our bumper version 1, which is where our mod went, you'll see there's an AutoMat file that it created. So copy the AutoMat file, and we go back to our original mod and we hit paste. And it's going to come up that there's 100 and some odd files with the same names. Do you want to replace these? I just say skip them because it's already put your modified files in there. And then we'll still probably have some texture problems, but that AutoMat file should correct a few of them. So let's zip it back up, and we'll call it Freightliner test. And the reason why it's taken a long time to zip this file up is because We've got a lot of extra files in here. It's like 3 extra trucks in this one file, but I like doing it this way when I'm trying to test it out. And then once I get everything on the truck right, then I'll extract all these extra files when I create the mod that I'd like to share with everybody, so it's not such a big file. But always remember to test one. If you change anything in your original truck file, make sure you test it, because if you delete something, files link in the Truck Simulator game, and so if you delete a file that links to a texture or material, then that texture or material will not show up, and that does happen quite a bit. Like I said, I do expect to have a few texture errors, because I have not put I created some new files, texture files, and I haven't put them in my textures file in my truck mod yet. So I'm still, but I want to see just how many texture errors I get just by copying that automat file. So I'll copy and put this back in my mod folder. And we'll restart. Alright, so now you can already see that a lot of these texture problems have already been corrected on the day cab. Alright, so we'll go to our, we've got some texture problems here on the XT cab, and then let's day cab. Alright, it doesn't look like we've got any texture problems. Now we need to add a bumper. Let's look at our bumper. And like I said, this is where I expect to have some texture problems. There's our full painted bumper. The bumper with the plastic bumper, and a bumper with chrome and paint. So we still have this texture problem here. And the reason why is because I have it pointing to a file that I have not placed in my truck folder yet. And the same thing with this grill. So we're still going to have an error there too. So that's the plastic grill. There's the chrome grill. And there's a chrome with, that's supposed to be a black Freightliner, but it's showing up red. I may use the wrong shader on that. I'll have to experiment with the shader. And there's our painted grill. And that's the reason why it's showing up like that, is because it's missing the texture also. Alright, so let's fix these problems. And since we've already copied over our automat file, we don't have to do anything for the automat. We just got to make sure that we get the right texture files. So we're still in our bumper version 1, a mod. We go to vehicle, truck, and then you can go to Cascadia 218, and here's our texture file. And the easiest thing to do is just transfer a texture file over to our mod. So we'll just copy, and then you always want to rename your original file just in case something goes wrong, because once you replace it, it's gone. So call that texture org. And we'll just copy and paste. Alright, so now our texture, we moved our texture files over. And the two files that I added to my textures was this black dash 2 DDS, and then let's see, I added this grill.dds file. So those are the two files. This is for the painted grill, and the other one was for the painted air dam. So now that we got the new texture files over, we can go back and we can try it one more time. Delete our zip file. And the reason why I delete the zip file that I've had in the past, some old files from the zip file, even though it was in the mod file, the game saw them, and it made some errors. And I spent a long time trying to figure out what those errors were, and it was because of that zip file. So I always got into the habit of just deleting that zip file, and when I create a new one. I'll call it Freightliner test. .scs. We'll zip it all up again and try it one more time. Now, if we have texture errors this time, we'll have to do a little bit of investigating. And for that, we'll look in our game log. Our game log will tell us what's missing, and then we'll know where to go to correct it. But hopefully, with those two files added, we won't have any more texture problems. And the intermediate cab, the textures on it is because the reason why it was showing up in red is because when I went to do my painted grill, the alpha channel for that one texture file didn't let my grill show up right, and so I created a new shader from an old shader and had to put in a new texture file for it. So the shader that I used was for the truck body, and now the intermediate truck body can't find the right texture file, and that's why it shows up in red. It's looking for something that doesn't exist. So it's looking for that file that we just added. We'll copy our zip file and we'll put it back in our mod folder. And you always want to look for that it's replacing the file. That way you know you named it right. So that's how I know that I didn't make a mistake in my spelling when it wants me to replace the file. And also look at the mod manager. If it says new mods found, I know that I created a new mod instead of just replacing the old one. And go back to our Freightliner truck. Right, still no texture errors on the day cab. You see our intermediate cab, the textures is fixed on it. If we put the right texture file in, and there's no texture errors on the high roof cab. Now let's check our parts. All right, so our front bumper, we have the bumper paint, and it looks good, no texture problems. And the bumper paint with the black plastic lip. And then here's our black plastic bumper. And then here's our chrome bumper with our matching lip. And this is what I wanted for the bumper. All right, so I have no texture problems with my bumper. Now we'll go to the grill. All right, there's our black plastic grill. The Cascadia chrome grill. Let me add a different color so I can get some contrast here. There we go. And make sure that all our colors look good. So we have the chrome at the bottom, and the chrome looks good. I'll go back to our grill. All right, now our black Freightliner shows up. So we have the chrome grill with the black Freightliner, and everything looks to be in the correct position. And then that should be our painted grill, which I thought would look really good with a painted front bumper. So let me see what that looks like. There we go. So a painted grill with a solid paint front bumper. All right, so that's how I make my mods, and you can see that we've corrected all our texture problems, and everything is working a-okay. So, like I said, leave me some comments if you've tried it and things didn't quite go as planned. Just leave me some comments or go to my Facebook page. It's Skins and Mods, and just let me know. All right, thanks for watching.